Welcome. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Where's Jeff Miller? He always knows how to get people's attention. Thank you for being here, and if you could please take your seats, we're gonna start the program because I know there's a few people wandering off. Today is a special day. It's our forum. We have a special keynote speaker today, and today's is sponsored by Huggins Insurance in partnership with Bliss Sequoia. Thank you to them. To start our meeting, I ask that we all stand, each of us stand, and share a moment of reflection or prayer, and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. We take this moment to pray or reflect, each in our own way, on our lives and on this moment. We are thankful for the meal before us, for the hands that prepared it, and for those who serve it. We are grateful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and even for its challenges. May we lend each other strength and guidance as fellow leaders within the Salem community. May we be deeply driven to give our best always and be so courageous to rise to meet the challenges we face. Amen. And now, if you help me join me, welcome Grayson Eames to perform our national anthem. Grayson is an agent with the New York Life Insurance Company and serves as a Salem Chamber Ambassador.
Oh, it's always fun doing these, right? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Great job. Thank you, Grayson. I just heard it, and I got to repeat it. Nailed it. Makes me so proud to be an American, for sure. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, Tom says you're one of the best in covering Freddie Mercury songs as a live karaoke artist. I had no idea. Eric Templeton will be seeing a return of Idol. There is an inside joke in there that I'm not sure about, but okay. We are very excited for today's program featuring a hosted conversation with three-time NFL Super Bowl champion Ryan Allen. It's very exciting. I just got a chance to talk with him. This is going to be an inspirational and fun conversation. But first, we would like to recognize our local elected officials in attendance. And today we have Turner Mayor Steve Horning, Salem City Councilor Julie Hoy. If you could please stand and wave. We like to acknowledge you. Thank you. Kaiser City Council Soraya Cross. There you are. And I am a volunteer city council with the city of Aurora. So there you go. Love Aurora. Also, we'd like to recognize past presidents in attendance today. And that includes today Brent DeHart, Where are you, Brent? Laura Dorn? Kurt Arthur? Where are you, Kurt? There you are. And Barb Hake Resch. Where are you, Barb? There you are. I'm always humble to serve alongside a talented group of leaders. And now if I could recognize the members of the board of directors that are here today, and that would include Randy Sutton, Julie Hoy, please stand and wave, Rich Duncan, Mike Herron, Katya Mendez, Laura Dorn, Eric Templeton, Ted Ferry, Angela Williams, Dan McDowell, sorry about that, Dan, Brandon Blair, Chrissy Witzke, Jeff Miller, Kathy Gordon, Connor Wrighton, and Jim Vu. Thank you, board. You are an exceptional group of leaders. On June 12th, right here, I want to talk about next month because it's, or June, I'm sorry. On June 12th, right here at the Salem Convention Center, our annual Business of the Year Awards and full membership luncheon occurs. If you have a worthy business that should be considered for one of our 6 Business of the Year categories, watch for the Salem Chamber's Business Connector email this week with a nomination link to submit companies that create powerful results in our community. Nominations open this Wednesday, April 12th. And we want to thank Ryan Dempster and the team at Willamette Valley Bank for presenting this event annually for our membership. So something to look forward to later this week. To present our April Spirit of Salem Award, I invite Tom Hofford. Please welcome our Salem Chamber CEO to the stage.
How many of you were here Saturday night right upstairs for First Citizen? Raise your hand. Was that an incredible evening, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you all so much for being in attendance and to the incredible work of Pioneer Trust Bank and Mountain West Real Estate. They are just so good to us, and this community had an incredible night out, so great work, Salem. Set to celebrate its 97th anniversary on May 24th, today's Elsinore Theater is a very different looking organization than it was just a decade ago. If it's a show night at the Elsinore, downtown Salem is packed. Try and get in Da Vinci, it's a tough one. The Elsinore is a premier arts and entertainment venue functioning as a nonprofit organization run by a volunteer board of directors consisting of many committed Salemites. Executive Director and talent magnet Tom Fohn was hired in 2016 to reset the Elsinore's place in the entertainment marketplace locally. Salem's community of donors and volunteers contribute significantly to make this venue a success. Fohn built a talented team of employees and key volunteers. With increased programming and marketing support, he pulled the organization out of debt and focused on building a financially viable organization to serve the regional entertainment interests. A rebranding effort transformed the image from a historic building known mostly for its past as a movie theater to a relevant performing arts center with the motto, "From Bach to rock, Broadway to ballet." Shows are marketed on their website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and via an email list of over 45,000 subscribers. Progress has been made to expand the types of shows and unique content as the demographic diversity of their growing list of patrons continues to evolve. Comedians with YouTube and TikTok followers, as well as more modern performing acts, are putting the Elsinore on the radar for young patrons as well. Shows at the Elsinore, which by the way seats 1,250 individuals, bring people downtown and have a positive economic impact on our restaurants, hotels, and general image of our downtown. During pre-COVID years of 2018 and 19, the Elsinore hosted 141 unique events, drawing nearly 67,000 people downtown. Since last July 2022, Completed shows have sold over 35,000 tickets in our community, with a number of near sellouts. Interestingly, about 15% of the patrons come from beyond 50 miles to this community. So the Elsinore is truly drawing from across the state and beyond. This is no small Salem entertainment venue. It is truly a Northwest gem. Today, Executive Director Tom Fohn and President AnneMarie DuFault are here to receive this award. Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in congratulating the Elsinore Theater? To you. Tom, thank you so much for your work in this community.
Thank you.
The stage is yours, you two.
Well, I kind of thought I was just getting a free lunch today. I'd have worn a jacket, I swear. I have one. It's an honor. Tom, thanks for recognizing the hard work of our board and our team. I have this saying over at the theater, make the big time where you are. It's important to us to keep our heads down and listen to our customers and bring in what they want to see. And that's what we're doing. We think we're the Lincoln Center in Salem, Oregon. The Lincoln Center is this fancy theater in the big city of New York. By keeping our heads down and working hard, we're benefiting from the mess that is Portland. I don't know how else to say it. We had a show last week we put up. We sold 2,400 tickets in 4 minutes. That show should not play Salem. That show should play Portland. But there's trouble up there, and their trouble is our gain. So thanks for the support. Continue to keep your eyes on our website. And Tom, you said it, when we're busy, downtown's busy, and that's got to be good for all of us. You know, it's fun to see people out on the streets after 9 o'clock in Salem. And I'm proud that I'm a part of it, but it's my team that does all the work, and our board is very active. So we have 100 years coming up. We're going to leave the Elsinore better than we found it. I know I am. So you're all gonna get calls from me. So pick up, okay? We just need to do a little work to make sure that the foundation is strong so that the Elsinore's here for your kids and your grandkids, and a place that we can all be proud of. So thanks for the time, and thanks for the award.
Well deserved. It's wonderful. I just realized, as I introduced our program sponsor, I just realized how close I am to the Super Bowl rings. And I was like, they're extraordinary. Of course, it would be me that would notice diamonds immediately. Like, what? They're beautiful. Oh my gosh, I don't even, this is the first and probably only time I'll ever see that. So again, thank you to Ryan for being here. Since 1919, Huggins Insurance has been helping Salem and Kaiser residents navigate the insurance programs that are available only from the most respected companies. Along with their in-house partner, Bliss Sequoia, they provide options for everything from homeowner and automobile policies to health insurance plans, commercial insurance, nonprofit insurance, and insurance for social service organizations. Huggins is an independent agency, which means they don't work for any one insurer, they work for you. Huggins provides advice about avoiding risk, preparing you for potential losses, and working side by side with you when mishaps occur. Dawn Bostwick serves as president at Huggins Insurance. She is committed to supporting clients, her community, and her team members at Huggins and Bliss Sequoia. Due to her wide experience in many insurance specialties, she is often sought out for her advice on risk protection. Dawn is passionate in supporting the Salem community, especially nonprofit organizations serving local youth. Dawn is a member of the Rotary Club, is a Rotary Club Salem past president. And today, joining Dawn on stage will be Angela Williams, who has served her customers in the insurance industry for over 21 years. Angela is a practical problem solver and is committed to sharing her skills and vast knowledge with her clients. Angela is chairwoman of the Next Gen Board, vice chair of the Salem Academy Board of Trustees, and serves on both McLaren Leadership Foundation and the Salem Chamber Board of Directors. Please help me welcome to the podium Huggins Insurance President Dawn Bostwick and Development and Personal Lines Manager Angela Williams.
Wow, those are really nice. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dawn Bostwick with Huggins Insurance and partner with Sequoia and Risk Advisors. It's definitely a privilege to be able to host today's luncheon. It's such a great program. Thank you all for coming. Where's Ryan? I have a fun fact for Ryan. Oh, there you are. My son was the first quarterback at West Salem High School. He spent a lot of time on the ground. They had no line, nobody could catch the ball. You guys came a long way. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Congratulations. Huggins is one of the longest surviving locally owned companies in our community, serving the people of Salem and surrounding communities for many years. The agency was founded in 1919, and in 1945, we brought an agency up to Salem. The agency was run by the Huggins family for many years, up until 2006 when Chuck Huggins retired. He was the last Huggins. We are a full-service agency offering just about everything you need. Our clients are personal, contractors, manufacturers, public entities, farms, and everything in between. In 2012, Huggins joined forces with Sequoia and Risk Advisors, owned by Matt Loken and Lance Barnwell, and which just gave us just a bigger force. We were able to share employees and company markets, and we just fit like a glove. It worked really well. Bliss is known for their social service and nonprofit work, although they do insure a lot of other things. We understand that insurance is a complicated business. Our staff are licensed professionals specializing in making insurance straightforward for our clients. We have grown to 29 employees, a number have joined us today. Huggins staff, will you please stand and be recognized? We have 3 people who have been with Huggins over 30 years. Raise your hands. We have other people who have been with us for decades and very, very, very good tenure on our staff. We're grateful to have loyal and hardworking employees. They are the best in the industry, truly. The insurance industry is in what we term a hard market, and this means premiums are taking quite big increases. I don't know if you've noticed that either in your personal insurance or in your business insurance, but if you haven't, you will. Underwriters are closing their doors on writing things they normally would write. I think a lot of it's being driven by the multi-million-dollar verdicts that are being passed in today's litigious society, millions. The punishment doesn't really fit the awards given. And of course, the cost of doing building, cost of repairing autos, and the supply chain issues has something to do with it, as well as we are continuing to have catastrophes. So I do anticipate the rates to continue to go up. One thing that does set us apart from other insurance agencies is our commitment to our community. Angela Williams will kind of share with you a few things about some of the things that we do get involved with.
For decades, Huggins and Bliss Sequoia has sponsored the community, not only through sponsorships and donations, but we actually show up and do the work. So I'm very excited to be part of a team that does that. We are the real deal. We're not just a one-hit wonder. So this year, in the first quarter alone, the agency has given to a number of organizations: Union Gospel Mission, United Way, Salem Contractors Exchange, Home Builders Association of Marion and Polk Counties, SEDCOR. We sponsored the Safe Agribusiness Banquet, YMCA, Cherry City Baseball, Partnerships in Community Living, Salem Leadership Foundation, and that's just the first quarter. So we show up, we put our money where our mouth is, and I'm very proud to be part of a group that does that. So, speaking of community, Huggins Insurance, in partnership with Bliss Sequoia, are proud to sponsor today's Forum Speaker Series luncheon. This afternoon, you're in for a real treat. I hope everyone got your dessert in the back. A Salem native and graduate of West Salem High School, Ryan played Division I college football at Louisiana Tech University, where he became the first punter in history to receive back-to-back Ray Guy Award for Top Collegiate Punter of the Year. Congratulations. He then went to play for the New England Patriots from 2013 to 2018, where he earned 3 rings in 4 Super Bowl appearances. Now, Ryan is now back proudly in Oregon and serves his community on the Family YMCA of Marion and Polk County's Board of Directors. Kyle Sexton, can't forget that guy. Everyone knows Kyle, right? Yeah. Kyle Sexton works with chambers and businesses across North America as a consultant, marketer, and content creator. He and his wife, beautiful wife, by the way, Victoria, write the words that compel your customers to buy from your business by positioning your customer as the hero and you as the guide. Kyle is an early adopter of McLarenism, and you've seen lots of those McLarenisms at the golf tournament in September. Plug for that. Where he says his job is to teach people what Mike McLaren taught him or allowed him to learn in their 10 years of working together. As a speaker, Kyle shared the stage with Seth Godin, whatever, original Shark Kevin Harrington, and now NFL Super Bowl champion Ryan Allen. Join me in welcoming Ryan Allen and Kyle Sexton to the stage.
We hot? There we go.
How fun is this?
How's everybody doing?
This is fun.
Good.
We're sitting very close together.
Yes, we are.
Don't kick me.
No, won't. It's out of commission for the last year and a half, so we're good.
No, nothing on the kicking jokes, huh? All right. Got to know my audience, Ryan. There's definitely more of the story, wouldn't you say? There's more of the story than what Angela just shared in your intro. We want to learn a little bit more. We had an opportunity to spend a few hours together and get deeper on that story. We have some folks in the audience who maybe know a little too much, and I'm assured that they are going to ask some questions later that might embarrass one or both of us. I don't know, because when you're born and raised in Salem, you come back to the small town. People show up, and you just cross your fingers, and they're still rooting for you, right?
That's true. That's true.
So you're an Oregon boy, and you grew up playing basketball and soccer. We actually have that in common, and I think that's why I get to sit up here and ask the questions. We actually have a lot in common, not the punting, but then you put on a football helmet. And after you saw an opportunity to use your soccer skills in a different sport, how did that come about? That's very interesting, kind of a change.
Yeah. So basically, what happened? Just a little prefix. Grew up off Liberty Road till I was about 6. Was very enthusiastic and passionate about sports at a young age. At about 6 years old, my parents moved, my sister and I have one sister, we moved out just behind Thrillville. Basically, if you took Battle Creek Road and went all the way out, like you're going to Turner, we were right on that corner out there. So at about 6 years old, I was introduced to the rural life, if you will, compared to being in the city of Salem. And after a couple years of being out there and starting my, first few years of sports, my parents could kind of quickly see that, this being out here may not be the best for Ryan, and may not push him as much as it probably should. So at about 5th grade, I went to Pringle Elementary. That was my first year of moving back into Salem. Started making a connection of friends and being able to be around a lot more kids my age that were enthusiastic about sports. And so most of my childhood, I was playing soccer. That's my first that was my first love in sports, was soccer. Loved basketball as well, but football came quite a bit later. My first year playing football was, I think it was in Judson. It was 8th grade. I was on the light weights. I made sure I was like a pound or two light to make sure I wasn't playing with the big boys and getting hurt. But I was a pretty lanky, lean kid growing up. And that was my first real route at playing football, but there was no real kicking involved. It was, I was just playing tight end and whatever else I could play out there, which was fun. But I was still playing competitive soccer up in Portland. Throughout middle school, actually, my dad would drive me up to Gresham where our club team would play. And so sometimes I would have to leave school about an hour and a half early. But my dad was very involved in my ambitions as a sports player, and it kind of led into high school. High school was mostly soccer and basketball until my sophomore year. I had a little health complications, and it was kind of the first year with club soccer where I was like, you know what, I'm taking the commute up to Portland so much. And I basically told my dad at the end of the club season that I think I want to take a break. And he's like, well, let's just finish the last couple games out, and then we'll come back and make that decision. And I was kind of getting more ambitious about basketball as well. So basically, it was the transfer from soccer to basketball in high school for the first couple years, and then my junior year. I just remember sitting out there. I went to South Salem High School, and I remember sitting out in the parking lot of South Salem that overlooks the lower football field out there. And Coach DuFault at the time, he was coaching there, and I remember watching all the football kids go out to practice, and this was in the fall, and I didn't really have anything to do in the fall, and so it was kind of an instinctual thing. A couple buddies were playing football, and I was just waiting for winter so basketball rolled around, and I remember being like, you know what, maybe I just need to go get my health card, and it doesn't look like anybody's kicking the ball down there, so I was pretty sure that I could put the football down there and get the job done, basically, and that's kind of how it started.
As a punter and a kicker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
There was some other support that your dad provided as you made the transition from soccer to football. Some trip to California, as I recall.
Yeah. So after my first year at South Salem, I was a junior at the time, and everything was self-taught. The oblong-shaped football doesn't come off the foot the same way as a perfectly, round soccer ball does. So that took a little bit of getting used to. But I could tell there was some promise there, and my dad was like, you know what? There's a kicking guru that does some competition in Vegas where kids from all over the country go. And he goes, why don't we fly down there and basically see how you stack up versus everybody else? So we went out there, and it was pretty overwhelming, and you could see how and I did fairly well, but you could see there was a good few handfuls of kids who had been working on their kicking craft and their mechanics for multiple years, and it was pretty evident. So my dad and I came away from that going, okay, you know what, you definitely got a shot, but you're a little raw and unrefined in your mechanics a little bit and stuff. And so we took with what we could take from that, and I started putting a little bit more time and took a few drills that the kicking instructor gave to all of us 350 kids that were at that thing. And looking back on it now, I think that was more of a money generator and whatnot than really giving
Shocker.
350 kids a true evaluation of where they were at. But, it was good. It was good exposure for me at the time, and my dad knew how to, I have my dad and mom to thank for that, despite our struggles as a family, moving forward at that point. They were very evident and very encouraging in my ambitions as a sports player, and they got me the exposure I needed, and I started working on it, and things started to fall in place.
Two key life events that you and I have in common, two different high schools, and divorce of your parents at a very tender age when these should be the best years of your life, right? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the transfer to a high school that's totally different than what you've been used to, and if there is a silver lining to divorced parents in high school, what might that be?
Yeah, so one of the biggest reasons ended up transferring from South Salem to West Salem for just my senior year was I noticed a lot of the caliber of 2 and 3 sport athletes that was at West Salem at the time there was handfuls of them, and most kids don't want to leave the school that they were at for 3 years to just basically get what's the word I'm looking for? Introduced to a new, a group of friends and a social network. It's not the most comfortable thing to do, but throughout the years, I was playing against all these guys from Walker and West Salem, and we grew up playing against them, and they were all class acts. They carried themselves right. They were multiple sport athletes, and it was a crowd that I envied and wanted to be more around. And so that was really the enticing aspect of me leaving my senior years, because the football team was really good. They didn't have a kicker, so I knew I kind of had a little bit of an opportunity to be of use for that team that year. But it wasn't going through what we were going through in my family at the time. It was not easy, but I trusted my parents, and as far as them kind of teaching me how you want to surround yourself by good company, and there was something about that was I believed in it. I knew that if I was around them, they were going to push me and to be a better athlete, to be a better student, and it was culturally. West Salem had a good culture there. It just was at the end of the day. And so, but the divorce wasn't easy. My senior year, my dad was pretty much out of the house the entire time. Spent a lot of time at Judy's house with, where are you, Judy? Back in the back. Yeah, my senior year, I spent a lot of time at Judy's house and another buddy of mine's, because I would drive from basically the back of Thrillville all the way down Commercial, about a 35-minute drive into West Salem every day.
West Salem High.
Yeah, and then sometimes we would have breaks before practice, and practice would be at 5, so I'd have to just hang out for a few hours before practice started. So there was a lot of idle time for me, solo, independent time, while my parents were trying to just figure. I mean, we had the collapse in 2008. They owned their own mortgage company together, so they were bringing problems from the house to to work and work back home. My sister was in college, so it was just basically me at home, and didn't want to be around the house that much. Not because I didn't love my parents, but it was toxic. And so a lot of my passion and enthusiasm for sports was my out, basically.
Yeah.
Music was a big part of that, and I would just go spend time on the field or working on my craft or shooting in the gym, and that was kind of my escape, if you will. So the silver lining, I feel like, is it really allowed me at a younger age to push the distractions away and hone in on what my ambitions and my passions were, and I think that had a lot to do with my ability to learn the craft of kicking the football so quickly, and that's ultimately what gave me the opportunity to move on to the next level. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
You went from an undrafted free agent to 4 trips to the Super Bowl and 3 rings to show for your efforts, as everyone has commented. They're very sparkly and bright.
Little too big to wear most of the time. I'm not.
Well,
there.
we
I wish
still
they were
want to
smaller.
see him on you a little bit later. But before you basically walked onto the field to try out for the New England Patriots, you also had to walk on at Oregon State University, where the Beavers didn't necessarily tell you you're our guy. So what was that like? Tell us about your time at OSU and what led to your departure.
Yeah, so after that kicking camp I went to, I did pretty well my senior year at West Salem.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
You keep saying you did pretty well. You did pretty well. There's 3 Super Bowl rings over there. This is a common theme with Ryan. You spend time with him, and later on he's going to tell you a story about, well, I had a pretty good game. And this modesty thing, you did a little better than played pretty well your senior year.
I did. I look at it. I knew what those other kids were doing at that camp in Vegas, so that was kind of like my
got a new
line
bar.
of a new bar.
Okay.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
New bar was raised and set senior year, so I wasn't really looking at how well I did in the state of Oregon. In fact, there was a kid named Zach Brown. He went to McNary High School in the same year I was. He got a shot to play with the Green Bay Packers, but just to put into preference, I was never the strongest, the fastest. This kid had a stronger leg than I did. He could kick 60-yard field goals in high school. I was barely making 50s, but my technique, I was starting to figure it out. So, or even in high school, there was a few kickers that athletic ability they were better than me. Now it's hard to judge, the mental side of being an athlete and where kids are at that age, but I did pretty well. But
Fair
I got
enough.
got an opportunity to walk on at Oregon State, and basically Oregon State said, hey, we got this 6'6" quarterback. He's an all-state quarterback guy from Bothell, Washington. His name's Johnny Hecker, and we're bringing him in as a combo guy, so he punts and throws the football. So I'm sitting there going, well, it sounds pretty promising. I mean, there's not many quarterbacks that want to be the kicker on the football team. So I'm pretty sure once we get there, he's probably going to be more interested in throwing the rock rather than kicking it. So didn't think I was going to have much competition, but little did I know he's still playing in the NFL these days, and he's breaking records, and he's one of the better NFL punters that's ever played. So they end up kind of wrap a long story short here, Oregon State ended up choosing Johnny as the punter, and him and I had a great working relationship and friendship, but they ultimately chose him after that first season. I was a backup for 2 years in Oregon State, and the second year I could tell I was really coming into my own. We would go on road trips, and I'd be the backup kicker and punter, but I'd be warming up against UCLA's starting punter, and I was like, I don't think he's any better than I am, even though I'm not playing. I can tell I'm getting better. And so I had a long conversation with my mom at the time, and we decided to try and enter the transfer portal, and that's where things got a little sticky for a couple months. I don't know how much we can allow. We got a little time on that.
Well, a lot has changed. I mean, your point is that a lot has changed in the transfer portal, and that was not working to your advantage at the time.
No.
And now, now it's a lot easier, right? But there were some restrictions based on your playing time, whether or not you had played. And actually, if I recall correctly, it's actually a blessing that you didn't play as much, because it helped make the argument within the transfer portal that you were eligible when you decided to make a move. Is that right?
Correct. So basically, to put it simply, there was 3 requirements back in the day, 10 years ago or so. In the NCAA, they had really strict rules on whether a student athlete could transfer without taking a whole year off football or whatever their respective sport was. And it was, you couldn't be recruited, meaning you couldn't go on an official recruit to the school. You couldn't receive any money from the school, and you couldn't play in any game for 2 whole seasons. So, my mom and I are reading through the bylaws going, okay, well, I didn't play in 2 seasons. We haven't received any money, and I wasn't, officially recruited by them. So, long story short, we go to the athletic director, and they're like, well, they basically told me that they gave me, your dad called us, and we gave you a $350 credit for summer books. And because we did that, I mean, that kind of that's kind of prohibited in the transfer protocols. And we asked them to prove where we signed for that. And to make a long story short, we had 35 emails to the athletic director. 4 were returned to my mom. My 2 uncles were 2 sport athletes and boosters at Oregon State, and they started to get involved. And basically, it was the argument with Mike Riley, which is the head coach at the time. We sat in his office. We sat in the athletic director's office, and we're like, look, no, you can't prove that we asked for any of this money. And it was, we look back on it now and we see that this was, back in the NCAA, they had a lot of power in the way that student athletes were able to have opportunity on the field. And this was a loophole in the system to where they could keep walk-ons from leaving a school and getting an opportunity elsewhere. And this was just good for the coaching staff to be able to bring walk-ons to their organization. And then if they tried to leave, they could give them a couple $100 for a book and be like, unfortunately, we did credit you those those books, so you're not going to be able to transfer. So my mom fought this. She's in Harrisburg, living at my uncle's place in the garage studio, newly divorced, bankrupt from her mortgage business, crying every single night while I'm feeling guilty. And this is hard to talk about sometimes because I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have had the career I would if she wasn't a big part of that process. That's my angel right there. She, everything that's happened to me in my life came down to that one moment. Where she would go and take, she was trying to find what her life was going to be like. And there was one moment I came to her one day and I was like, you know what? They're not going to budge. They're not going to do anything. Let me just go to school. Let me be done playing football. We don't have the money to be getting $100,000 in school funds if I'm going to try to focus and be a backup kicker for 4 years. Let me just focus on school to where at least some of that money's being utilized, right? And she fought, and she was like, "No, I can't let that. We can't. You're too good. There's definitely multiple schools that would take you." And she scratched and clawed, and eventually, after 4 months, I ended up losing full ride scholarships from Penn State, NC State, all because Oregon State was withholding this credit of $350. So they ended up letting us write him a check, bring it to the comptrollers. That could have been done in 2 weeks. And so my mom fought for 4 months. We finally, the only school that was keeping their full ride offer to me was Louisiana Tech. And so after 4 months of scratching and clawing, I pulled out of Oregon State, and we got it cleared. And the next thing I know, in a month, I was traveling with a pair of flip-flops, 1 pair of cleats, and a duffel bag to Ruston, Louisiana. I don't know if anybody's seen where the show Duck Dynasty was. I was about 10 minutes west of there.
You're in the sticks.
Oh, buddy. To make a funny story, I get there and a week goes by, and some of the kids that were already there, mind you, totally different culture from, being in the Northwest. There's a little swimming hole, a little rope swing. The water's just completely like mud. You can't see a foot into the water, and we're used to the Sandy Am, right, in North Fork. You can see fish swimming 20 feet below. That's what we're used to up here, right? So we get down there, and everything about that culture is different, and we're at the swimming hole, and some 13, 14-year-old, we pull up and in this little swimming hole in the just, boonies, basically. And this kid pulls up this huge dead snake. I'm not kidding you, like 6 feet, and he's just holding it up because there's some, locals coming to swim in their in their random swimming hole. And I look to my buddy who's a transfer, also from Orange Coast College down in Orange County, and we look at each other and we're like, where are we? What are we, I don't even know if this is going to work out. I called my mom one time after I got there, and I was like, Mom, it's 100% humidity. It's 100 degrees out. I'm throwing up in workouts and stuff. I don't know if this is going to work. And she's like, just give it a little bit of time. It'll settle. And she was always my advocate, and she was always, and I knew I wasn't coming home. That was my one opportunity to make something of myself. And so there was a lot of hurdles and a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in that journey transferring. And, it ended up working out. So
let's talk NFL.
Let's do it.
In the business of professional sports, where money is kind of no object, describe what you've learned about team culture and leadership from people like Bill Belichick and Dan Quinn. We want the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, there's definitely a contrast between those two, but I was very, very fortunate. I remember being released by Bill, and Bill does all the hiring, firing. He's the general manager, and I remember telling him, I'm a better man. I will be a better man in this world because of being able to play under you for the 6 years and watching the way that you guys managed and led this organization. Culture is a tough thing to figure out, especially in the professional sports world. You got 23, 24-year-olds making millions of dollars and making basically more than most of the coaching staff. And so there's this weird power dynamic between, how much do you listen to the coaches and to your, to your respective position coach, and how much is it truly like your knowledge, your athleticism, your talent and ability. And, the thing that I take away from Bill's leadership and culture the most is and he's been doing it for a long time, but it wasn't always fun to play there, but he was able to get all of us to buy in because of his ability to have the players come together because of our environment. Our environment was so tough on a weekly basis with practice, with our games. The expectation was so high from our coaching staff, especially Bill. We didn't get gold stars for doing our job. We were told that you're getting the money and you're getting your salary for what you are bringing to the table. And so that's, you got to go way above and beyond to get a gold, to get a pat on the back or to get recognized, because that's the nature of the business. It's not personal. It's strictly performance. That's the industry that we're in. And he was so good about creating a culture within our locker room. We didn't have, fun game rooms and lounges. It was kind of old school. And I think, everybody knows that the New England culture out there was, he's not a player's coach. He's a strict, it's almost ran like a dictatorship over there. But what you learn after a while is he's right about everything. Like, you can't give us 23-year-olds full reign to just, I don't feel like being in pads today, or I think I'm going to take Thursday off. Little by little, that's the reason why you see the tenor that Bill and the New England Patriots had. They didn't have to deal with all that. And I think most of you, or a decent amount of people in here, are probably Seattle Seahawks fans. And Pete Carroll did it way differently. There's a way to approach leadership and to create a culture. And you can approach it different ways, but you just got to be careful. That's why I think that Pete Carroll had his few good years during that 2011, 12, 13, until we stole that one in 14. But should have ran it. Probably would have gone better for you. But,
Hindsight, yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately it comes down to this. We had great player leadership in Tom and our cast of captains on the team. And Bill knew that if he made it so hard throughout the entire year, fields frozen, we're still in pads during playoff week. I'll never forget, to sum it all up, we had a speech right before our Super Bowl against Seattle, and I remember him telling us that you have prepared, we have put you in situations that no other team in management has done. They're not in pads halfway through the year. We've pushed you through. You are built to survive the long battle of the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is another hour and a half longer than a normal game. And when a leader like that tells you all that, you don't second guess it, because you truly know you've been through all the crap, you've been through all the work, you've been through all that. So there's no need to rah. There's no need to do anything. Bill and Bill's seen that over his 40-some years of coaching. He creates a tough atmosphere where the players and the leadership of the players come together, and almost at times it was like us players were against the coaches, but little by little, it kind of calloused us to emotion. We played without we played with good emotion, but we didn't we didn't play up and down. It was always 4 quarters, and we didn't get phased when things weren't going wrong. And anybody that watched the Atlanta Super Bowl, it was 28-3, and that I don't know when there's going to be an upset and a deficit of that magnitude that was overcome. It's going to take a long time for another team to overcome something like that, and that's the way we were built. And in contrast, after I got released from the Patriots, I went to Atlanta with Dan Quinn, and it was a completely different story. I had a couple players that were actually there when I arrived there. The team was 1-7, so they had won halfway through the year. They've won 1 game, and we go in there, and you would think you would think that they had won most of their games. Everybody was friendly. There was no cause of concern, and what I noticed was the coach and the players who were leaders on that team, it was all just labeling. It was the coach would instill the players to be captains, but they weren't true captains. They were in the locker room just as much as us kickers were, and that's not normal. I came from a program where everybody was, giving hours and hours of extra effort to their playbooks and everything. When I came to Atlanta, I could tell that the coach was a little bit too timid and afraid to establish a line of expectation with all of us athletes. Again, 24, 25-year-olds making millions of dollars. He was a little afraid about what would happen if he laid the law down and created an expectation, and it didn't go well. And so he played his cards, he played his hand where he just wanted the players to be his best friend, and it didn't work out that way. And so, to contrast the two, Bill understands that type of environment in professional sports where the money, the age, the maturity of the players, you have to bottle that up and understand that. Otherwise, if you give us too much control, that's the reason why 2/3 of you watch the coaching carousel happen all the time, and there's very few. Andy Reid's the only one that's really creating an environment over there in Kansas City where it's kind of a hybrid. He lets his players play a little bit, but they're very intelligent and they have they take a lot of pride in what they do. But other than that, it's hard year after year to keep that culture and to keep that expectation up. And I think that's what's so admirable about Bill and what I learned from him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we have a bunch of questions. You all have a bunch of questions. I have one more question for you, and it has to do with when you told me you had a pretty good game where you beat the LA Rams 13-3. Some people call that not the Super Bowl, but the Punter's Bowl. You punted how many times that game?
I think 6.
6 times.
6 times.
6 times.
Yeah.
And one of the lowest scoring Super Bowls ever. So you were on the field a lot. So that's what a pretty good game looks like when the punter is 6 punts and they win. And you probably would have been MVP had it not been for some guy named Julian Edelman making the only catch and the only touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's that guy? So you did something interesting, though, in negotiating. You let your agent go, and you decided you're going to negotiate directly with Bill Belichick one-on-one. So the reality is that you just got off of a phenomenal punting performance, and analysts really were suggesting that up until that touchdown catch, you were going to be the hands-down favorite for the Super Bowl MVP. So you, Coach Belichick, and no agent. What did you learn about negotiating in that situation?
Yeah, I would definitely say after that experience, I'm definitely not a professional negotiator by any means. I got a lot of a lot to learn still, but what I will say about that is I knew my knowledge for the game at that point, and what goes into being a specialist in the NFL year after year, how we practice, the conditions that we play in. The sports agency is pretty difficult to try and find actually good representation in. I was 0 for 2 basically in my career. The first one I chose was gave me all the opportunity to train before the draft, and then 2 years in, I got another one that was a hard worker, East Coast guy, got me all sorts of card signings, and I thought that was all great for like 2 years until I started figuring out that, once you start getting contracts and getting into the negotiation of contracts for multiple year contracts, and the money is up to a certain point, you really want good representation. And so after I had a good enough relationship with Bill, and I felt like I understood how he does things and where he comes from, and my gut was telling me, you know what, you're going to be able to sit down with Bill and have a discussion about what goes into being an efficient punter in the NFL, more so than your agent here. And I mean, he meant well, but there were some moments that we had with him where he didn't represent me and other clients in a professional manner. So I let him go, and it was extremely nerve-wracking. When I tell you he is as cutthroat as as he seems on TV, he's way worse when you negotiate with him. Like, he made me feel, the first time I got on the line with him, he made me feel like basically whatever good I did was met with some bad I did, and it kind of washed, it was a wash basically. And so I had to leave that first conversation and kind of regain myself, and came back, and I basically told him, hey, look, I just held my loins on one response, and I said, you know what, if you don't agree with him, just make sure you show him respect and say, Bill, I hear you, but I think we may have to agree to disagree on that one, because he takes the emotional part out of it. That's one great thing that I did learn from, is there's no emotions. We don't play up and down. It's not personal. It's strictly business. And he even reminded me 2 times during our negotiations that this dynamic is different than the player and the coach relationship. The minute you choose to do this with me, it's straight up, business is business on either side. And it was a great learning experience, and it went well. I ended up getting released because they needed a punter who could kick off that year. The kicker was getting pretty old. But I was proud of myself for stepping up to the plate, and I felt like I did good stating my claims. There was a few things I wasn't happy about the way that we practice, and I felt like I was practicing bad habits sometimes, and I was able to reiterate that to him. And I truly do feel like he took some of those things to heart, and he knew I wasn't, I never asked for a huge contract, but it did go well. The one thing I learned, though, is you can't be emotional. You got to go in there with just, the facts, to where that other side and party can't really negate from that. And, usually you can come to a decision. But, it was definitely uneasy there, the first conversation.
Yeah, and it can't be easy hearing his negotiating tactic to really kind of level the playing field and knock you down in negotiating, which sounds like it was one of his first moves. So we got some questions in the audience. We got mics. Do we have mics around? Yeah, Grayson's got a mic.
All right.
Fantastic. Yeah, Rory's got a question. And anybody else who has a question? Bob? Yeah? Great.
Rory.
Yeah, good to see you up there, buddy.
Uh-oh.
So you mentioned that Bill Belichick is quite the traditionalist and old school. Was there any, epic stories or something that was really memorable to you that maybe Bill did that was completely unorthodox that maybe no other coaches have done in the past?
Yeah, I'll do two super quick ones. One, we had a practice one day. Bill's a historian, loves history. He would grill us sometimes in team meetings, and if you didn't know the answer, it was like I was telling Kyle here, you'd melt in your seat, because basically the spotlight would be on you, and he'd humiliate you if you didn't know a basic answer about, World War II or Memorial. Like, if Memorial Day was coming up, if he asked one of the rookies about Memorial Day and they couldn't say it, it was like you were in the doghouse for a couple weeks. But we had he really wanted to stress the importance on how hard it used to be for NFL players in the league. Compared to what it is now. So one day he shut off our cafeteria. We had no access to our normal equipment, and we literally did everything the way that the NFL used to do it 30 years ago. So it was like wrapped sandwiches. Literally, coaches had packs of cigarettes out there, and this is media was closed to it, and it was all to display how the players used to do things in the past. We were watching film from like 1940, 50, how practices used to go and how they used to. It was hilarious. But and all of us players were having a riot with it because it was basically a day off of real practice. So everybody was like super juiced about that. But that was a really fun history lesson that we got from Bill. And the only other thing I can say with Bill is he. My rookie season, we were playing Peyton Manning. Both teams are undefeated halfway through the season. The wind chill is -15. It's absolutely freezing. Bill is such a mastermind. We're playing Peyton Manning. Usually when you go into overtime in an NFL game when two teams are undefeated, you don't give the offense, the good team that has a good offense with Peyton Manning and all those guys, Wes Welker, you don't usually give the ball up in overtime because if you take the ball down and score right away, the game is over. Bill is so strategic. The wind is so bad that game and it's so cold. This guy literally defers the ball and gives it to Peyton Manning and the Broncos just so our specialists could have the wind when we needed to kick. And sure enough, after 8-9 minutes, the game goes back and forth. They're having to punt into insane wind. I put a ball up for Wes Welker to go grab. He fumbles it. We get the ball and we kick a field goal and we ended up winning. And that was the year we ended up going to the Super Bowl and winning. And that came down to home field advantage. So the guy's a mastermind.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
That's amazing. Grayson, we got one more question right over here. And while Grayson's making his way over, the one Super Bowl that you didn't win, you punted how many times?
0. Yep. It was a way at watching. Actually, I held a couple times, and actually we screwed up the operation for our kicker.
You should have just stopped at 0, though.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. There's been high moments and low moments, so that's kind of been the story of the journey.
My question is, you were the Ray Guy winner 2 years in a row, which means you were the #1 punter in the nation coming out of college. Why weren't you drafted?
It was so in the NFL they like punters to be able to kick the ball off too, just to take some pressure away from the kick or the field goal kicker. Some people agree with that, some people don't. But basically that year, the two other kids, Sam Martin and Jeff Locke, were two lefties. So and they both kicked off, and they were good. They were good. But Detroit drafted one of them, and the Minnesota Vikings drafted the other one. And that was probably one of the first moments where I was like, it felt like a lot of my efforts and a lot of my opportunity were going to be cut short because when you're going in, and I did have the assumption that I probably would get drafted, and that was a tough blow that day. But it wasn't but an hour after the draft had ended where New England called and they said, hey, we got one other guy here. He's been here for a couple years, but the best man is going to play. That's what we do year in, year out. And I remember my uncle looking at me and he's like, you're going to go there, right? Like, you're not going to go as a camp leg to Denver or somewhere else. And yeah, that's kind of how it ended up. I got an opportunity to compete with the guy at New England and did that for 3 months. And I remember the last day of cuts in New England, I got a call that morning, and my phone is just blowing up from people all back home, and they're like, they cut the other guy, and I'm sitting there going, 8 hours ago, they were telling me, we may be able to keep you on practice squad, but I think we're going to go with the other guy. And so I literally was like, had my bags packed ready for the airport, and the next morning they called me and said I was going to get an opportunity to play in regular season, and, the rest was history. So it's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Were you prepared for all these questions, or were you punting?
Today, punting for sure.
Excellent. Ryan Allen, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Allen.
Appreciate it.
They don't like dad jokes, Ryan. They don't like dad jokes.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Kyle. Ryan, you brought me to tears. This is going to be one of the best forums. Thank you for being here, and I love
having me. Yeah,
and I love, as a mom, it sure was nice for you to honor her today. It was very nice.
Like I said, wouldn't be here without her, truthfully.
Oh, but what an incredible story. So as we wrap up, and I could be here for a lot longer today just to hang out and listen to you. But we will get you out here. This was an incredible program. I do want to recognize that just 2 nights ago we were upstairs. The Salem Chamber hosted the 72nd Annual First Citizens Awards banquet. And again, we want to recognize Shane Griggs as our Salem First Citizen, Jim Vu and Oni Marchbanks as Distinguished Service Award recipients, Colin Box and Joshua Kay as Outstanding Young Professionals, and former Senator Peter Courtney as our Legacy of Leadership Award recipient. The room was packed with 500 attendees, and we want to thank Pioneer Trust Bank and Mountain West Investment Corp. again for serving as our title sponsors. For any of you who were there, and there was quite a few hands up, it was an incredible evening. We have a few tickets remaining for next week's Chamber of Business Women's event next Tuesday, April 18th at Roth's Fresh Markets, West Salem. Please utilize our salemchamber.org or connect with the Chamber staff to secure a seat. Our keynote will be Sarah Sackett of Keep It Simple with Sarah. Next month, I talked about June, which is the awards, but next month we have another great program for you. It will be Monday, May 8th. And our keynote address will be an entertaining one as we feature the one and only former Oregon Senator Betsy Johnson. So please reserve your seat today. Again, thank you to Grayson for performing on National Anthem. Wonderful job. And congratulations to the Spirit of Salem recipient Elsinore Theater for their work in bringing world-class entertainment to the Salem community for almost 100 years. We're looking forward to that 100-year celebration, absolutely. We also want to recognize our partners at Allied Video Productions, Capital Community Media, and Salem Convention Center, who each showcase their talents and atmosphere monthly at our forum luncheons. To our Salem Chamber ambassadors in their Navy logo chamber jackets, we thank you for your work in welcoming our members to each of our events and programs. Your hospitality, it's much appreciated. Angela Williams, Dawn Boswick, Matt Locum, Lance Barnwell, and the entire team at Huggins Insurance, we thank you for the strategic support of the Salem Chamber. We close today by giving away our floral centerpiece provided each month by our partners at Ross Fresh Markets. And today, our winner is of the floral, Christy Reed from Vips Industries. Please come up and get your floral arrangement. With that, our luncheon concludes. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next month.
Je suis en pièces.